Okay, so taking a look at this drawing, and like I said, I did over-exaggerate it a little bit, but taking a look at this drawing, how does the drawing look, the three views of this drawing, for being centered up in the drawing space? Not very good at all. My gap, and when you center up a drawing, you want the spacing left to right, all three spacing to be equal, and the spacings up and down vertically to be equal. So if you look at this space here, here, and here, are those three spaces equal at all? Not even close. So we want to move things around and get them equal. But now, when you do move these things around, as we know about this type of drawing, it's an orthographic projection drawing. So things should line up straight in line with each other. So when I move this, can I move just this one over here like this and get it centered up nicely? How does this line up with top view? It really doesn't at all. So you can't do that. These views are linked together. So for example, here, yes, I do need to move these two views over a little bit. So I'm going to go move. I'm going to select all those views, those two views, I should say. And I also selected those layout lines up there at the top. And I'm going to kind of just try to eyeball it here to begin with. And I'm going to move that over, maybe to about there. Now, me looking at this, this side over here, I believe, is just a little tiny bit smaller. So I'm going to move these two views. Again, I'm going to get it all. Here, I might have to be creative, get it with a crossing, make sure I get all those things. And I'm going to slide those two views this way a little bit. Making sure, again, my polar tracking's on and I'm tracking everything around there nicely. To be a little bit picky, I think this side here is just a little bit small yet. So I'm going to move again. It'll take a couple times of getting these moved around. So let me zoom in there just a little bit more. There we go. I'm not worried about it being perfect. You don't have to measure these and get them exactly the same. But I want all three of those spaces to be approximately the same. Very similar in my height of the drawing. Got a big gap here, little teeny tiny gap up at the top. So here I want to move all these down. So I'm going to pick all of this stuff with a crossing and slide it down a little bit. Trying to maybe eyeball how I can get the spacing about equal. All right, I'll go that about maybe there. So this space is there. Again, this one's a little bit smaller. This one's a little bit larger. So I'm going to move these two down. And now looking at this space, and this space are all three approximately the same. Is it perfect? No. Is it close? Yes. And that's all I'm really looking for. Just to double check myself, and you do not really need to do this. Up here, this is a dimensioning tool. I'm going to dimension and see how close I am of just eyeballing this and getting it approximate. So there, I got 1.24, 1.12, 1.14. I'm about 0.1 of an inch off. This one in the middle is about 0.1 smaller than the one at the top. That's really not too bad. That's pretty close. I can live with that. Going side to side, from there to there, I got 1.2. Between those two, I got 1.13. And there I got 1.26. Again, pretty close. Between the smallest one and the largest one, I'm about what? About a 0.15 off. Again, I'm not too worried about that. That's good enough. Just when I visually look at it, they're way far off. That's when you're going to lose some points. All right. So now, go ahead and do that for all four of these drawings. By the time you finish up, that should give you some good practice. If you happen to move something and get it out of line, just undo and line it back up. But you should have these lines that still line up straight through, all your layout staying in there and all that. All right, carry on, get that. All right, so next, once you have all those moved into place, have them all nice and centered up there on all four of the drawings. The next thing we need to do is edit our title block a little bit. So let's go into each one of these title blocks and look at it. This one is not called drawing title. That's not the title of this drawing. This one is just simply called block. So we're going to go in there and zoom in and just call this one block. The material, this is not made out of paper. These little blocks that you saw the other day, what were they made out of? Wood. this specific hour, your hour does not vary. This is third hour, so you would add in third there. For me, I'm going to keep this varies for the video. All right, next, the date is no longer this date. We're going to change that to the correct date. I don't even know what is the date. The 9/18. Okay. Oh, and I cannot put a 20 on there. I just noticed. Okay. Created by your first and last name, added in there. Don't just say first and last, obviously. I think that's obvious at least. And add that in there. All right. Once you have that one changed up, great. Let's move on to the next one. This one is just simply called the L block. This one over here, it's the exact same drawing. It is the L block again. So you'll call that the L block also. This one is just the whole block. Whole block. Not H-O-L-E, but, or sorry, H-O-L-E, not W-H-O-L-E. Whole block. I come up with some really high-tech names for these drawings, if you aren't noticing. Oh, that text is not, oh yeah, it is. Okay, it's centered. All right. So, edit all those, and that'll be great. I'll give you just a moment to finish that up, and we'll go on from there in a second. Okay, so now, for our last little tidbit of this. You are going to just upload this to Student View. There is an assignment called Block Drawings, I believe, on there. When you upload it, I want you to do 2 separate snippings. I really don't want 4. I don't want that many snippings to look through. I think 2 separate snippings, I can see the details good enough. So you're going to create a snipping of the left half of the drawing. So I'm going to go just tight around those 2, be zoomed in there pretty tight on those 2. Snipping there of those 2 drawings, and then a snipping of the other drawings. So make sure do save both of your snippings as always. So file, again, I would just get used to save as, so you know where you're saving it to. I'm going to save it to my third hour practice folder, and I'm going to save this as block, I guess just 1, because this is the first snipping of it. Block 1 snipping. And perfect. I'm going to go ahead and do another new snipping. And I'm going to save that one as block 2. And with that, you should be able to upload both of those to Student View, no problem. And that's this drawing finished up.